as a market, while we look at the crypto and the entire market, we do see positive things evolving. We do see fundamentally positive stuff coming out. And at the same time, we also see concerns. We also see things which doesn't actually look great. So ultimately, what matters in the market is the price action. If you actually run through these charts and notice what these charts suggest, some of them are short term, some of them are long term, some of them are medium term, so that you understand that, okay, this is the support, but this can be the possibility. That's a pattern evolving. This is the measured move. If that breaks higher, you're looking for this, right? Now you're going deep, slowing down, taking more information from the market. And here the RSI suggests, okay, I'm inside this channel, I need to break higher. So you actually take a step back and you want to actually observe where we are in the market cycle, because that's way more important. Because once you understand the fact that the market is showing either this as a possibility or this, both of them looks bullish. Why? The measured move goes like $18, $19, $20. And I'm not even taking the wick here. I'm just considering the candle close. So if you actually consider that point in mind, you understand, okay, that's XRP USD, which is showing you some massive moves, but we really don't know when that big moves are coming. That's the reason why we look at the short term to see and understand what we are looking in the short run. But at the same time, while you go look at XRP Bitcoin, you get to see this, right? You had this pattern which broke to the upside. Now we are coming back to retest that. And while we are doing that retest, you are getting a double bottom pattern. Now it's not confirmed yet, but the price action is working on it. RSI kind of gives you the idea that we are coming closer. It's not bad, because then you actually move out. You want to actually see, okay, if that's true, what's the medium term pattern like, right? The RSI suggests like, okay, the price is noisy. It's really hard to observe anything there. Whereas the RSI gives you a clear picture. Now, you can ask like, okay, is this the one-off, how things are evolving? But we have seen this picture before. So we kind of have a little bit more clarity. If we are breaking to the upside here and we're coming back for a retest, that can be an opportunity, right? Historically, that has been true. So you can either zoom in and look at that, or in general, you may look at the Bitcoin itself to see what the market is doing right now. And that kind of gives you a pattern like, okay, this looks positive, because at the time while we are talking about the market is showing you I'm slowly going up, I'm testing this level of resistance and all of this stuff. But what's the key takeaway? When you actually go into the market, you're seeing some of these assets running higher. Say Waves right now is like one of the top performing asset, right, in the entire market. So the pattern which that asset showed you was really interesting. Now, when I say that, you can actually literally ask like, okay, what do you mean by an interesting pattern forming before this run actually takes place? Because when you actually go into the market and look at these patterns, you kind of get this idea, right? And I was like, okay, a breakout here would be positive. These are your targets. The price action broke higher. It was at 1.66. Now you are getting close to $2. So you actually get the point. You break through, you run up, you see the pattern, you identify the positioning in the RSI, and you kind of get the picture. And as soon as we were breaking higher, I put up this one saying, okay, we are breaking higher, and hundreds of people are literally taking advantage of that. Why? Because you have the market right now showing some of these assets are bouncing off from a macro support, and you kind of get to see the maximum outlook possibility for some of these assets. And if you have these assets on your portfolio, now you're like, okay, let me really get onto this. Let me really look at all these assets. Because as a portfolio, if one of that asset goes down and 9 others perform, it's fine. But 9 of them, if they drop and just one goes up, unless one which actually moves up is heavy, you're going to lose money, right? So you need to think twice while you look at your portfolio. Now, jumping back into the price action for XRP, this is the daily chart, right? We actually got a rejection. That's a clear rejection because we got a hanging man candle, which was not positive. And then you got an engulfing candle to the downside. Now we are going back up. So one of the key thing which I would like to convey here is think about this for a moment. you got a candle which actually broke to the downside on a daily chart, which actually shows you like, okay, sellers are a little bit heavy here. And it took two candles after that to test at least 70-80% of the last one. So in just one candle with a little bit of volume, sellers were able to push the price lower. And it took like way more volume than that and more buyers in 2 days to push the price halfway through. So I'm like, yeah, maybe we are gonna drop back down, right? We may actually get rejected. So we need to actually understand, okay, there is a possible rejection here. Because if this happens to be this point here, you're coming back down to the support before you actually bounce back up, right? So you literally go through all these possibilities because you want to see where the hell is the next major support, right? On that short-term leg, you can identify this 0.44 as level 1 and then 0.43 as the level 2. So unless you break out of these patterns, it's really hard because we really don't know whether you're going to fake out or get rejected there, right? But on the RSI, it kind of gives you a clear picture like, okay, price is looking bullish. The market, the sentiment is actually increasingly becoming bullish, which is a positive outlook because when you look at the market on different horizon, you actually see different things. So here the pattern is looking familiar, even though you may get a little bit of corrective action there. On a 3-day chart, this is how you actually see the price action now. You got an engulfing candle to the upside, which erased last 3 candles. So this is a 3-day chart which kind of erased last 3 candles, which means last 10 days has been erased just with 3 days. Bullish. Fine. Now we are at the resistance on a horizontal level and the trend line basis. You're testing that level. But while you're doing that, yeah, you got a hammer pattern. Here, you can actually put that as an inverse hammer at the top, which kind of shows like, okay, sellers are entering, buyers are low or they're weak right now. So this particular candle, when it actually closes, if it managed to close above the previous wick here, say 0.48, now we are bullish, we are positive. Because as you actually take another step back and go on to the weekly, this is what you're observing. You have this level of support, which you are bouncing off every time you go hit that level. Then you took off, you reached the resistance, you came back down. But you did not actually come back down to this level at the bottom. Instead, you decide to bounce off on a weekly. And that weekly candle gave you an engulfing candle, which is, again, net positive. So if you are a buyer in this market, these are all interesting factors which you are looking at. Now, you can say, okay, that's a macro chart, Danny. I'm actually looking at the short-term things. That's where the 4-hour charts come in. That's where you actually see, okay, this is the level of resistance I'm interested in. And if the price breaks this level, I think the price can go higher. Why? You have a rounded bottom reversal pattern, which is a inverse head and shoulder here, right? So your measured move kind of goes 13%, not a 10x, but it is still worth it because the level which we talked before, the 0.5 range, now we are coming on to that level because your measured move here after you break, that takes you that high, which is again net positive. But you're now literally following the price action to see, okay, where are we right now? Are we actually showing some divergence? Are we actually going to go back down? And I would say, yeah, we may actually see a bit of corrective action in the market, which is still positive. But what we have to keep in mind is, are we breaking below this low? That's 0.45. If so, yeah, you're looking the next leg down somewhere here. If not, you're actually looking for a bounce off in the market from this level, right? And that bounce will now enable you to stay close to the resistance and then break that to the upside. That is again going to be net positive. Now, yes, these are not the only things which you should be looking at, because on the other side of things, we actually see the market being volatile. Dollar went up and it is actually giving you a divergence, meaning it actually reached here, it's forming your rounded bottom pattern, all that's true, but at a time when the RSI is dropping. So the short-term scenario suggests like the dollar can actually slow a bit down. It's not going to be bad. And now we come on to the daily scenario. We need to see like, okay, if that's true, are we actually going to really slow down? And I'm like, okay, this is the range you should look at. If you're focused on the price action, this is what you're looking at right now. You got a bullish candle, but that followed with an inside candle, slowed down, but it took 2 candles to reach to that level afterwards. So I'm like, okay, you put in a higher high, but at the same time, the RSI doesn't actually look like I'm making a higher high, right? The RSI shows you a different story. And whenever you see that happening, say we got this, right? We got this at the bottom while we were actually putting in this, we kind of get the idea like we are slowly going back up. We kind of get that divergence here. And we have noticed this pattern again and again in several assets. So that's the story for dollar. Then you look at the market as a whole. What do you see here, right? We have a macro pattern inside which you have another micro pattern, which is a medium term here on a macro chart. And that's showing you that it is dropping hard. And it's not just small drop, it's gapping down and opening a candle and then pushing lower, closing it there, then again dropping down. Why is this? Yeah, we understand the narrative. The market is trying to play games with us, right? All this debt ceiling, let's talk this out. Historically, they usually kind of, come out of that. But the drama which they play in between kind of create a lot of panic in the market. And it's the retail guys who actually go off. Because then you actually look at the volatility for S&P 500, you actually see like, okay, it's starting to bounce back up. That doesn't actually look really great because historically speaking, when that goes up, the price action goes lower. It's not a net positive thing you want to look at. You want to look at the opposite scenario, right? So we want to see whether this is going to get rejected here or not, because on a trend line basis, you can actually put the argument like we are at that resistance right now. So if you are breaking this one, that means markets can slow down, especially the stock markets are going to be taking big hits. So if you actually look at that and say, now I'm doubtful whether crypto is actually directly going up from here because it kind of follows the stock market. Yeah, the banking crash can actually bring in a lot more people here. It's all true, but we'll have to see whether we break to the upside or get rejected at this resistance. If you break this to the downside, now we are literally looking for the previous level of support zone, which we have talked about, right? That get extended to previous levels for sure. But now we get the idea. If we manage to go back up here, a little bit is bullish. Some people, new money is entering the market. But if the market sentiment as a whole is taking a hit with all these banking collapse, now that's not a net positive. So again, if you are in the market and you're looking for a lot of these assets to look and understand, we are doing Ask for TA session as much as possible. So you get all these assets, you get all these breakouts, the calls, whichever assets you're looking at, you get to see in detail. That's one of the reasons why you get all these possibilities while you're looking at that. You get the fundamentals, you get the positive side, negative side, the idea of bullishness and bearishness. So guys, if you're looking for something like that, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. And if you received value from this video, please do hit that like and subscribe button. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.